Welcome back to the podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk with Akvile. And me and Akvile, we met at the Effective Altruism conference in Rotterdam, where Effective Altruism is basically like a community of people trying to do their best to improve the world. And at these conferences, it's really not normal that we have these like one-to-one conversations where we like network a lot. And me and Akvile were about to like have a one-to-one conversation, and I told her that like I'm actually starting a podcast, and I think it would be really cool to maybe try to take the one-to-one conversation on the podcast, because I really liked what Akvile was doing when I read her bio about what she does. So who is Akvile? Akvile is a Lithuanian. She is a new EA Amsterdam community member, meaning that she is a part of the Effective Altruism community in Amsterdam. And she is a recent master's in organizational psychology graduate. She's a talent partner, co-founder, and certified coach, startups consultant, and deal flow manager for business angel investors. She also introduces us multipotential. Okay, yeah, you will hear more about that in the episode. And Akvile has several passions and tries in life to combine psychology and business. In this episode, the topics vary from founder's journey, entrepreneurship, startups, burnout, multipotentiality or something like that, how to reach your dreams and stay sane, and yeah, a lot of more. It was a beautiful conversation, and it was not that normal podcast conversation because it's kind of a one-to-one, but with most focus on Akvile. So yeah, with that, I just want to say thank you again to Akvile for doing the conversation with me. And to everyone, this is the conversation between me and Akvile. Okay, Akvile?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I am. Let's do it. I'm excited.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, really nice to meet you.
Likewise. I'm actually happy I trusted you enough to come into this room.
Yeah.
We'll see what's gonna happen out of this.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I guess like for the people who watch this and like for the people who listen, they can see it. But yeah, we're in my hotel room, and it's pretty hard to explain that like for people you don't know from before, like, hey, come to my hotel room.
That is an interesting approach for sure.
It is. Yeah, but thank you for saying yes.
Of course.
So yeah, we were basically just gonna have like a one-to-one conversation, as many people do here on this conference which we're at, which is the EAG, so Effective Altruism Global like conference where people meet up together. Like, I don't know, like how would you explain EAG?
Well, that's actually quite a tough question since I'm pretty new to the community. But for me, it's more about like how you effectively can impact as many people as possible, but in terms like improve their quality of living. So for me, this is altruism, and effective altruism is like how you can do it in low cost, or like in the sense that, you know, you devote your career and you just be able to approach as many people as possible, like as you alone. For example, like founding an organization instead of, working in an organization can already be a bigger impact. So yeah, that's how I would say what it is. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And then a lot of people here, they have these like one-to-one conversations and so on. And yeah, when we were going to a one-to-one conversation, like I read more about your bio and what you do and so on.
Lovely.
I was like, damn, like this is really interesting. So yeah, would love to kind of record our like one-to-one conversation here and like get more into depth and get more time to talk about like what you're doing and so on.
And what you're doing as well, because I'm curious about your path as well.
Exactly, which is so nice. Yeah. Oh, cool.
He's shy now, who can't see us.
Yeah, that's so perfect. Yeah, because I am so used to like interviewing people almost, like having those conversations. So we on our way here, you mentioned a word.
Multipotentiality. Yes.
Exactly.
I hope I pronounce it correctly. Like, this is a term that was invented by TEDx speaker. I'm very bad at names, so I'm sorry I can't remember it now on the top of my head. But basically, this is like an idea of this is a community and also an idea for the people who can't find themselves having only one career path, only one job, only one hobby. And I think like this generation, we have more and more multipotentialities, like multipotentialists. That's how we say that, because we just want to do different things. We want to try different things. And I think the power of multipotentialists is kind of in the ability to combine different skill sets. For example, if I study medicine, but also I know how to develop, I'm going to do like an app on, like some kind of research and diagnosing a medical issue. And that's already a multipotentiality product because you combine different skill sets. So I think this is a lot about entrepreneurship as well, because entrepreneurs are the ones that actually have to jump in different roles. Like you do sales, you also you're a team leader, as well as like a product development manager. So it's like a lot of different roles you have to take on. And I think this is a perfect career path for multipotentialists. And that's why I also talked a bit in the conferences about like a multipotentialist within the entrepreneurship and how it is effective and how it's working. So basically this is a career model for the ones who feel that, I don't know what to do after I graduate. I don't know what to do, after I graduate my school and like what kind of studies I have to choose. And I was struggling with this question myself. I felt broken. And that was a fix. I found this community and I realized, okay, I'm not broken. Actually, there is some kind of people that they just going to devote their career and always going to have more than one job and more than one passion. They're going to switch careers, and jump from one to another and back to others. So this is basically the idea and a community and a movement even, I would say.
Wow, that's so interesting. Like
multipotentiality. I call it also multipotentialism, because this is like the word of like having a potential and multipotential. So like, have a potential, but like one person has one potential, but like multipotentialists have several potentials.
Interesting.
So basically have like possibility to enter several career paths, have serial entrepreneurship is also like multipotentialists basically. And these are the people strong at combining different people together as well, because it's more about like growing either vertically or horizontally when it comes to a skill set, If I'm software developer, I'm just going to devote my time in learning how to develop with Java. But but if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to also dive into like sales competence, into, like recruitment competence, like product development competence. So there's like the development of your skills is like a bit of you have a bigger variety basically of developing your skills. And then you don't have the skill set that things in depth, but you have a variety of skills.
Wow. Yeah. I can really like kind of recognize myself in it as well, and be like, and it kind of feels like, like you said, like you kind of find like your people. You're like,
exactly.
Oh wow, there's like more people who think like this, which is the same with like effective altruism, and for my part like veganism as well. Like because I turned vegan for like 6 years ago, and then I didn't know anybody else who was vegan at the time. So I was like, damn, I'm a really weirdo, like over here, like. But then when I found other people who were like vegan, I was like, damn. And same with EA and maybe multipotentialism people.
I know it's hard. I know it's hard to pronounce. That's why I'm also struggling, honestly. Like, it's multipotentiality, I think.
Cool.
That's the official term.
I love that. Yeah. But so like how's life for you? Like what do you do? Because you were also working with like Burnout, and also like screening startups for investors and so on. So you can see the multipotentiality in you.
Everybody like who tries to say this, I'm like you know what I mean, you know. But I get it. It's a difficult word. So tell me. So basically, my life is a bit of a, I usually have more than one job. Like now I currently have 3. So like it's always been this way. So I just graduated my master's in organizational psychology. Very happy about that, even though I'm looking forward to studying again. Currently I work as a full-time recruiter. So I consult when it comes to recruitment processes because I love connecting with different people. I think it's like my colleague, she was really spot on then she described our career, that basically people pay money to hear the failure and success stories of very impactful people. So for example, I work with like project management and like executive search positions, which means that I get the chance every day to be paid for listening to these success and failure stories, So I think this is a very fascinating career, which also brings for me some kind of financial stability currently. And on top of that, I am a freelancer in Litban, Lithuanian business angel investment network, meaning that I work for business angels. And business angels are basically people who have a lot of money. For example, they can be founders of their own companies, and they want to kind of invest their profits or invest their capital, maybe family capital or whatever, in startups. And that's what we do. We teach investors how to invest in startups. We have angel school going on, which I also contributed to develop, as well as like currently I'm mostly focused in the organization since we also grew from 20 to 250 in 2 years. So it's
in which or
in investors network basically.
Yeah. Wow.
Which means that we got 20 investors, and then like we managed to actually grew the network to like more like 250 investors currently. So that's why we also get a lot of incoming applications from all around the world, because we got actually recognized as the best performing business angel network in Europe. So we got some kind of exposure, which also leads that someone has to take responsibility of actually filtering out the best deals for our investors, because that's where our value in the belonging to the network comes in, you know? If you're an investor and you are part of our network, you get the best deals in the sense that, we select for you the startups. You don't have to do much because you already get the ones that are filtered out. So this is what I do. I do try to find the potential within startups that apply for us and understand which ones can get the funding and which can be interested for our investors.
And what do you go through then? Like how do you know if like a startup is like, okay, we should go for it, we should like invest in here? Like I think like personally as well, like as an entrepreneur, like I'm curious to get some tips.
Of course.
And of course, like maybe somebody who's like listening or watching, maybe they want to start something for themselves. So Yeah, I think definitely. Like we invest also in very early stages, which means that, the ones who just got the MVP created, like just to say that it's minimum value proposition. Thanks.
They already are, kind of interesting for our investors. So basically, I'm very geeky about Excel and all the metrics, and like I'm very much into being as objective as possible, because it's very easy to just like favor one product over another, because we all have our own preferences. So to keep objective metrics, I do have my own like kind of criteria that I value accordingly on a scale of 5. So these criteria include like team, potential, which is important to mention that I also evaluate either the team members are working full-time for the startup, because that's what investors are looking for, full dedication. Sometimes they can be like a couple of founders working full-time and a couple of them, just like employed or part-time people. But like at least having some kind of dedication is important, as well as like, of course, like product and the market, like, how scalable is the financial model itself. Basically market, the product, the team. I would say these are the most important things. But like I could also like, sub-classify the criteria because I have quite some of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And with the Burnout and so on, what do you do there?
Burnout is actually my old project. I was doing like entrepreneurship, you can call it this way. Like I co-founded like a burnout prevention program because I had a couple of burnouts myself. So I really felt the need, since I also graduate psychology, to basically bring it within the companies and as in recruitment field and industry especially, there is a lot of control, like you kind of have to let go of the control. There's huge uncertainty because then you deal with people, like a lot of factors don't depend on you. You can offer, for example, a position for the one who says, oh, I'm actually changing my mind. And that's it. The effort goes in vain. So in that sense, the burnout is actually very possibly can happen. So what we did, my colleague, is that we conducted interviews of the employees within the organization. But before that, we sent them the questionnaire, which we also did ourselves, based on the research. Academic research, of course. So we kind of combined several academic research questionnaires into one to get some kind of checklist of the potential triggers or potential factors that can actually already tell that, okay, maybe I'm on my way to, I'm a threshold of being potentially burned out. Because I see that a lot of people notice that they burned out after the fact, it's already too late. So
yeah, true. Damn, yeah, because like I'm working so in Norway, like I run 2 organizations, and we have a lot of volunteers who we're talking about burnout and like from time to time, because we have like some activists or like some volunteers who are like experiencing burnout and so on. Do you have any tips, maybe like also like for our community in general, maybe, but also like for me as the leader who like kind of have responsibility for, or not kind of, but like actually has responsibility.
Kind of. Employees, you are kind of being managed.
That's good to put out there. Yeah.
So I think like before diving into your question, I'm also curious about how you got familiar that your employees can potentially have burnout. Did they tell themselves? Like, how did you approach them? How was the start of it?
Okay, so first we don't have any employees, or we have some part-time employees, but like just to be clear, like it's volunteers.
All right, volunteers.
So also not getting paid, but spending their time doing your work.
Lovely. Thank you. Thanks for what you're doing. It's we really appreciate you, volunteers.
Yeah, I agree. There's been different ways of people like coming forward and saying that they are either burned out or they feel that they're soon going to hit the wall. Right. Basically, is that a saying in English, or do you understand? Yeah.
Well, I understood it. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Basically, they're close to getting burned out and so on. We do have some activists who are like just in the like not in the organizations, but like in the community, which have burnt out and which have like spoken out loud about how they have burned out and how they can't do stuff right now. And we also have some previous activists who have, or like volunteers who have now quit being in the organization or like in the community because they have burnt out and so on. But that is, as you're saying, kind of when it's too late. But then we do, so if I can backtrack a little bit. So before I went into like starting the organizations, I was volunteering for like around 15 different organizations. And
at once?
At once, yes.
Wow,
but again, volunteering, so not working. But and what I realized there was that within like environmentalism and animal rights and human rights and so on, there were many people who were like kind of struggling like with like struggling mentally kind of because of like overworking or because they learned so much about these like horrible world problems which is out there, and they want to help so much, but they feel that they just can't like
feel powerless.
Exactly. And that there weren't any organizations who were really specific about like that self-care part in doing like volunteer work and so on. So when I started World Saving Hustle, which is the first organization, then we have like in our values, or like in our like 3 ways of working is like self-care, education, action, where we try to value them like at approximately like the same, so that you really have like if you want to be a volunteer in World Saving Hustle, like self-care is like important, but also like education,
of course,
meaning just like staying updated and being like critical about like what we promote and what we do and so on, and then action and like actually doing stuff, so not just talking about it. So so we already have self-care in our values kind of, and then we have had like multiple like self-care for activists, like workshops and so on. If you go to our social medias, you will see that self-care is one of the topics we produce content around, because we want our volunteers and followers and so on to see that like we see this as an altruistic thing as well.
Of course.
Like self-care can like almost sound like really selfish, but like in the best way possible.
It's not selfish at all. Actually, I also attended within Effective Altruism community the workshop about self-care. We just had it actually a couple of weeks ago in Amsterdam, where I'm based. And just to be clear, and also like to just kind of demystify one of the stereotypes, is that to get burned out, you not necessarily have to work a lot. That's also like very much of a stereotype that people sometimes have, because you can, for example, work part-time, but you can get burned out. You can you can be a student and not necessarily put a lot of effort into your studies, but be burned out because it's much related more with the approach to work, and either you have a satisfaction from it and you feel the meaningfulness in what you do. And I mean, like, so this is sometimes get a bit of a mystified, I think, and but I think it's very interesting to know that it's also an issue within effective altruism community, and that's I'm also very ready to tackle it here, because I think what can happen, what I can assume, because that kind of happened for me as well. Even if you do some kind of impact, since you have a little bit of a perfectionism combined with this like effective altruism vision and mission you want to follow, that can happen is like, okay, I'm making impact, but not enough, you know?
Yeah.
I want to make a bigger impact.
Of
and
course,
then I feel, so if I'm not making enough impact, what I do is like not as meaningful for me because I know that my potential is bigger than what I do currently, and I'm burned out, you know?
Oh, wow.
Because there's a discrepancy between my expectations and my current situation.
Exactly. What word did you use there, by the way?
Discrepancy?
Yeah.
Yeah, discrepancy is basically disbalance between,
Wow, nice word.
Yeah, I know it's like a bit of a research vocabulary I'm using, but it's
cool,
it's definitely this discrepancy between this, and of course, if you work a lot, there's also like possibility to get burned out because you can't sleep normally and so.
Exactly.
But this is like most people know that, so I think for me it's also important to bring some additional knowledge within burnout topic.
Thanks. Until now, I also thought that was basically how you get burned out, because you work too much. So
that's what is communicated.
Yeah.
It is true, but it's not necessarily, because we also had a lot of cases within organization.
Yeah.
Once we started talking with employees that potentially can be burned out or that are heading that way, and that they have a potential to get burned out. So we definitely figured that, they not necessarily have the most amount of accounts to manage, you know, because we work as account managers as well. So it's like basically they can also be working part-time plus studying, but also shifting your focus from one thing to another costs you so much energy. So for example, if you count your productive work hours, might be that by volunteering, for example, 15 organizations, maybe you do it only actually 20 hours per month actual work, but switching that focus from one thing to another is what requires the most energy from you. So that also can be one of the reasons why you get burned out. So what was really fascinated, and you said like you volunteered at 15 organizations. That is a lot. And I think also within effective altruism community or within volunteers of your organization, it can be also that, you know, if you volunteer, you also have some kind of probably job that brings you income, and also you have maybe some other ongoing projects on your plate. And once it can get a bit too much because you have to switch from one to another, or either it's like because the workload is huge out in, you know, estimated hours, or it's just because you don't feel that you have enough impact. Several ways.
Exactly. So do you have any tips for how to deal with that, or for me as a leader who has responsibility,
assumes that. Definitely,
and also for a community in general, and for people listening and watching.
Of course, like first take care, you know, it's prevention. So it is important, I think, to, as I call quality productive and effective rest, because we do rest. You know, if I go after work and I just watch Netflix, it's one type of resting. But if after work I go for a walk, maybe it's another type of resting. So especially I think for like people who want to have an impact in life, but this is my very personal perspective, so taken with a grain of salt, is that if you want to make impact, you're going to work hard. I mean, like you can't make impact without putting in a lot of effort, right? So sometimes it might feel that you're working 10 hours, but not 8 as your neighbor who is just having like a, you know, contract job. But that's the cost of having an impact, right? You have to put effort, you have to put energy into it. And I think in this sense, it's very important to know that, for example, 20-minute walk in the forest can bring me more benefit than like just watching Netflix 2 hours, you know? And sometimes it's really hard to, you know, stand up and go. But I think when we talk about effective altruism and effective career planning and like being multipotentialist or having a vision and mission, it's also important to be productive in your resting.
I love that.
And knowing these healthy ways, the healthiest, the best ways that works for you. For example, maybe you hate forests, so go to the beach or wherever you like, but like find your ways. And what helped for me was like, since I'm very much geeky about Excel and like having some checklists and so on. So what I did, I just printed out on the wall, just potential ideas how I like to rest. You know, sometimes I'm just so overwhelmed and I just want to rest and I just don't have it at hand because I don't know if you know the psychology of a habit, but the part of developing a habit is having a trigger, you know, around you that triggers you to have this healthy habit. If I want to run and jog after work, I'm going to put my jogging shoes in front of me, you know, these kind of hints. So I think for me, I needed a hint because always I'm just too tired and it's like, oh, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to watch Netflix, you know?
Yeah.
So now I know, okay, but I can actually dance for 10 minutes, even during the work day, you know, I can just stand up and do yoga. I can go meditate. And like these kind of small hints that I have on the wall really help me a lot. So this is like when it comes to the tip of how not get on the path of potentially being burned out. But when it comes like you already spot, I mean, this is as an organizational leader. I mean, we developed some kind of material which is basically a checklist and you can see the triggers. What might be potentially the signal basically that I can be potentially burned out. For example, I have a headache 3 times in a row. Or like, I don't feel meaningful in my work, or no matter how much effort I put in, I don't see the result in it, you know? So these kind of things can be, and then you also tackle each potential symptom, so to say, also differently, you know? If I don't feel that I have a result in my effort, there's, you know, some talks with your manager and how can I approach it differently, my work or responsibilities, or job crafting. Who doesn't know that? Google, it's perfect thing for all people who gonna deal with job responsibilities. Or if it's a headache, maybe my tackling is gonna be sleeping, you know? So it's very personalized checklist, which also have to make a consistent habit to do. And these checklists, we developed an organization ourselves. Some people can make, if they had experience that they already were burned out, they know potential symptoms they're going to feel. And we usually have it in our head, but writing it down, it's absolutely, well, now I feel like a real guest of a podcast and say, write down, journal. It's important.
Exactly.
So, but it's just, I'm not inventing a vehicle here, right? So just write down your things, you know?
Wow. Yeah, I should do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I like that, like trying different ways and figuring out like what is like the best self-care routine for you, or like stuff you can do. Like for example, where I live in Bergen, which is like, I live in 2 cities, but like in one of the cities, like right outside where I live there, like the ocean is there, and there's this like small pathway or like this walk. It only take like 5 minutes to go out to the spot, but then you're like out by the sea, kind of.
Oh, lovely.
I love to do that. So me and my roomie, when we're both home, then we and if we get time, then we like to take that like before we go to sleep, so we can just like calm down a little bit and so on. And I feel that really helps so much, and that's only like 15 minutes of my day.
So people move next to the ocean or the sea. That's the solution
exactly.
as well.
Yeah, just do that, okay? It's easy. Yeah, no, it's not.
Actually, one more thing I wanted to mention when it comes to tips, which I also find important, is that in work, we very often have accountability buddy. You know, either it's your manager or the ones who know self-leadership. Entrepreneurs are managed by themselves, you know. But it's also important to have rest accountability buddy. And that's what I discovered. So, for example, very often it can be your partner, romantic partner you live with, or like you have relationship with, because then you have, responsibility. Okay, I'm meeting with him 2 times a week, and that's it. That's my resting time, you know? So it's like, I think it's important to have this resting accountability buddy. Either that's your best friend, your partner, yourself even, but just make this kind of dates with yourself, or like, you know, put it in the calendar and you know that, buy a ticket if you need the financial commitment to that, you know, buy a ticket wherever you like, a spa or, you know, massage and something. But this being accountable to your rest, either for someone or for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Like for me, I think also like going to the gym is like such a good time for myself, where I can just be with myself. And if it's like running or like lifting some weights or like doing some yoga or like... whatever, basically, it just gives me, like, it refuels me, I feel. And I feel there's like many people who like use working out as one of those, for example. I can also overdo it at times, like, or I feel that like I'm just like draining my body of all the energy. So I'm not really like building it up again and so on. So to stay in those, having that balance. Yeah. What's that a word you use for the balance? Or
no, discrepancy doesn't work in this context. It's like more of a understanding of threshold, you know, like just like your limits. Also, I think that would fit into your points.
Exactly. Huh. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
That's good. Actually, I want to understand more about the organizations and the impact you're making.
Yeah.
Like how did it started? Because I think it's also very interesting for others. How to start like impactful organization, how to run it, how to scale it once you start it, you know? Because that's also like a huge stage where people are, you know, triggered in. So I asked you like 5 questions. So I think maybe I would be interested in how did you scale it? I think that's for me very interesting. Because to start, it's you know, it's possible, but to scale it, it's a different matter.
Okay, so at first, this is kind of funny because when I started it, like at least in Norway, to start an organization, you have to be like 2 people signing a paper.
Yeah.
But I didn't have anybody around me at that time who kind of wanted to do this together. So like it was like my own idea, but I kind of need a second person, right?
Yeah.
So I just asked a really good friend of mine named Hanna. Thank you, Hanna. if like, can you please sign this paper with me, because I want to start this organization. We need to be 2 people. She's like amazing. So she was like, of course. Yeah. So she's like, of course. So that's kind of how it started. And after that, when we scaled it, I think we went maybe around like a few months we went only doing like volunteer work in groups, like me and some friends that joined and so on. But then we realized that like, if we're actually going to be an organization, we need to like have better structure and so on, and to like scale in that way, kind of. So after some months, we established the first like proper board, I would say. Which then was a group of people who was most active in animal rights and environmentalism that I knew of. So I basically just asked them like, hey, like starting this new thing and like you've been active here and there, like do you want to jump into the board of this organization? And then we got like 8 people to sit in the board, and we had weekly meetings together. At a point we have 2 meetings every week and so on. And like trying to figure out what we could do. And then in Norway, at least, there are like different places where you can get funding and so on.
Yeah.
So we tried to do the best we could to like reach those criterias. And those criterias was really easy for us to scale the organization in, like because it says like, for example, to get funding here, you need so now I'm thinking of a specific governmental funding, which is from like I'm not sure what they call it in English, but direct translation would be something like the Children, Youth and Family Directorate or something.
Okay.
Which in Norwegian is Barne-, Ungdom- og Familiedirektoratet. Yeah, so for the people who...
I love Norwegian language. Like, it just sounds really nice.
That's amazing. So to get funding from them, we need at least 300 members under the age of 26.
All right.
We need to have a central like membership system. And like right there, for example, we were like, membership system. Like we don't have members. Like, so how do we do that? So we figured out how to do that, and we like checked it off the list. And then we got the members, and then we gotta have so and so many local chapters, and they gotta have their own bylaws and so on. And like the bylaws of the organization was something which I also in the beginning didn't think like we need to have, basically. But in order to become like a proper organization and scale it up, you need to do that. So by applying to a lot of different funding opportunities, you kind of have to like meet the criteria. So that was one way we kind of scaled as well. Because as well, when we are then asking for funding and so on, and to go through these like boring documents kind of. I'm like reaching out to other people to get help and so on, and that's also how we got some new volunteers which were like only working on those things kind of because they were really good at those things. Did I answer or
it's like definitely it's very interesting. Like probably would like to touch upon the financial and also retention rate. Retention rate, to translate, is basically like how many people get out of the organization and how many newcomers you have to get to exchange them. Because I actually co-founded a nonprofit organization myself as a president of J1 Visa USA exchange, like a USA association. So basically I went to USA with J1 Visa, and then the ambassadors approached me in Lithuania of USA Embassy to basically co-found the organization.
Wow.
And I was the president of it as well. But I struggled because I struggled with it to keep up with the drive of people because of this, because it was nonprofit and they were working professionals.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, how did you manage to keep up with the drive of people and basically hire new ones, and what was the retention rate in that sense, and also the financial aspect? Because I think for very much a lot of people is applicable. Then they start something, how I'm gonna get funding, you know?
Exactly. Okay. Let's talk about the rate first.
Yeah.
What did you call it?
Retention rate.
Retention rate.
Yeah, this is a recruitment term. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. Because that has been pretty hard, I would say. Or like we have, I don't have a specific number to refer to. Like I haven't done research about that. So I can only share my thoughts. But that would be really interesting actually to just put some data on it.
Surely.
Just like to figure it out.
That's an idea to start tracking.
Yeah. Wow. Should do that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Business advice.
Yeah. And for all the volunteers, there's coming a form soon, which you will fill out maybe.
Sorry, volunteers.
Sorry, but I think that could be good. Because like the first board we had was the same people for like 2 years, and then which changed it up, and I'm just trying to sense make out loud now a little bit. Because
why they actually stayed? Why?
What?
Why they stayed for 2 years? Volunteers within your organization?
I don't know, like we were all like a part of building this up together. We were such like we basically identified each other as family. Like
lovely.
At the board meetings, which maybe sound boring, was for some like kind of the only place where they can truly talk about how things in life are going.
Wow.
We were always doing a check-in and often like long check-ins. So like we don't want to hear like, oh, everything good here, like what about you? Like we want to like actually hear like what's up in life, like, and how are you coping with it, or like how it's so a lot of our board meetings has been like people from all like laughing and having fun to like crying and not feeling well at all, and just like letting it out there. But we're really trying to create a safe space together with each other. So I think that's one reason, because we are at least trying to create like a beautiful safe space for people to be. So I think that's one of the reasons, and also because they feel that they can actually have an impact in the organization, because especially in the start they are really the ones who are like deciding what the organization are going to work with, what we're going to do, and so on. But I also know that that's some of the reason why some of them are not there anymore, because they or feel that there are other things in life which they should prioritize higher, which I really respect. And of course that's so important. We're always trying to like say that like you should find like the place where you are thriving the best and where you can make like the best possible change. So if that is not in our organization, that's of course 100% okay, and like we will support you.
Although I would like to challenge this thought, because I think it's also in our generation we are very much into jumping and like doing this kind of market shopping, so to say. It's the same as like partners, I just swipe Tinder, if not this one then another. There's not much like less of an effort to find what I can do within where I am, because we have more of a luxury to choose from, more of an option. So I think it's also interesting to challenge yourself a bit, even if you don't feel fully comfortable, how I can, still find my own place and my own fulfillment where I am.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a nice challenge. The first thought I get, or like feeling, is that wow, like that's gonna be really hard for me, especially as a leader, to say that. Like,
of course.
But personally, I really feel that that like yeah, like for myself as well in my existing project, like maybe I don't have to start new project all the time, because I really have this urge of like starting new stuff. I'm like laying in my bed and thinking about stuff, and I'm like, damn, like I gotta research if somebody's done something like this. If not, I'm gonna do it, and I should probably be a new organization.
I can diagnose you with multipotentialism.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yes.
That's so funny. Yeah, but I love that word. Yeah, I love words. But yeah. So, yeah. Now
I caught your thoughts. Sorry.
yeah, but it was a good one.
Yeah, so basically you try to do a lot of research, and like, but you was also thinking how to be on one project, but not to keep jumping between the projects.
Yeah, exactly. So the challenging thought you said. Yeah. Like to maybe ask you back on that. Like, do you know how to, in a good way, communicate that, or like should one, like, okay, so if somebody says to me, or to you, like, and you're in a team together, and they're like, I think I am better fit elsewhere, or that I should prioritize else, like what do you think around, like, is it a way to kind of meet that with like, but like have you really like searched for your options within this? Do you think you maybe could like,
I understand that. I think it's like a very complex question that most of leaders receive. Either it's within organization, non-profit. Like, I mean, this is as a team lead, you do receive that. Some people are not fully satisfied with their current position. And I also received that myself, that question. And I also was the one who asked that question too, you know? So what should I do now? So I'm actually, from the psychology studies, I brought this kind of term within me, which is called job crafting. Yeah. And you know that, right?
No, but you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
But you said Google it, so please go into it.
So I can definitely shortly introduce that, which is, I think, is a beautiful approach to, if you can't change a situation, or like if you just want to challenge yourself and be in the situation and keep like doing the best you can within it. And if it's not working, then you, of course, like I'm more of a supporter to move on, and instead of like struggling and getting burned out and don't see any meaning in your work, just also be brave enough to diagnose when the situation comes that you have to change it, but also be brave enough to dive in and trying to understand, to be with this discomfort a bit and to see how you can get something out of it, right? Yeah. So I think job crafting really helps in the sense that, for example, if you have a starting job which you don't like, which is, for example, data analysis, but you have to be there just to reach your career steps which you want to do. Job crafting is more of a understanding, how can I make my tasks, which I can't change the task itself, more pleasurable for me to do. So maybe while doing data analysis, I can listen to music. This is a very simple example, but there are more complex ones of job crafting. So for example, maybe I can, give data analysis for like my colleague because she really likes doing that. But I can do like, for example, some research on initiative or something, or within an organization, I can start a project as a burnout prevention, let's say, because I see there is an issue, and that's how I'm going to get a meaning while still being a full-time employee, but doing something on the side what I love, So this is like, this is a very complex term, I would say, and it really much applies in different contexts. But job crafting is mostly about trying to find and research ways, how can I make what I have on my list, the task, responsibility-wise, more pleasurable? How can I combine it with what I love? Maybe I just actually noticed that, for example, the task, what I love, what I hate doing, I'm the best doing on the ground because I feel calm, because that's what I meditate on, So I combine this like by changing the place, by changing the environment. It can be putting a plant on your desk. It can be from small things to huge things,
Okay, yeah. Okay, so if you are not satisfied where you are right now at work, trying to go like into like what can help me improve this.
Yeah, exactly. For example, maybe if you're volunteering, but you, for example, want to learn more about leadership, so that's why we're gonna go and volunteer in a conference about leadership. Maybe instead you can reach for the ways being a mentor for newly onboarded members within the organization already where you volunteer.
Exactly.
And this like mentorship, which is also the same skill as leadership actually, and that's gonna fulfill your need to be a leader. So I think there are so many different ways how you can approach, and that's also also the open conversation with your manager, with your leader. Okay, do you have any ways or ideas or creative things how I'm actually can be what I am, but still get what I want out of this? Either it's gonna be like gain additional skills which I'm lacking currently, and I feel like I want to develop, and I don't satisfy this need of being personally developing in a position or in a current volunteering role, or maybe it's my environment issue. Maybe I can come into your co-working office and work with you because I miss people, and most of the tasks are just about the data, or maybe I can just work in a coffee shop and I don't necessarily need to change my position and going from data to cool. directly dealing with clients and people. So many different ways. You just have to be creative about it.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. That gave me kind of a relief as well, that for myself, but also for the people who I talk with, there's so many different options in how you can do your work. It isn't just like strictly this or this or this. Of course. Like we have I think one example for that is like people who have like one position in the organization. Like I can think about one who was economic responsible, like nationally. People in our organization know who this is. She was also a local chapter leader, and then she was like reprioritizing, and now she is like national economic responsible, but she's not local chapter leader. But we got somebody else who is amazing at the local chapter leader as well. So that was like super good mix, and win-win situation. So to daring to think about these things more often maybe as well, because I feel sometimes it's mostly when people approach me if they want to change or like do something else, it's kind of it can feel like it's a tough topic to talk about. Of course. So I think we can do a better job in I think it's just making space for it. I think it's just having in mind that, once I want to change, there is a step in between. What I can change here where I am. Yes. And once it's not working, what can I change, and approach a different career or a different chapter, different organization, whatever it's going to be, like, how can I exit? But I think then you start thinking about the change, your first thought should not be in strategizing my exit, or strategizing my change, but strategizing my initiatives within my role, within my position, within my current situation. And it's very much also applicable for students, for example, because within the middle of the studies, you're not going to just change your studies, right? But you have to find how you're going to find satisfaction and determination to continue and keep going, even though if you don't like it fully. So I think job crafting is absolutely brilliant idea and mindset change, which has to be applied. And it just requires creativity. And for the ones who does not still catch the understanding of it, and who can't be as much creative or find difficulties to get out of their current situation and zoom out a bit, because that requires zooming out perspective. Just Google what other people did with job crafting, because that brings you brilliant examples, which you can definitely apply some of them. Cool. I love that. Job crafting.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. Do you have any other topics you want to talk about, or questions, or something else?
So many, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting. For me, I think that financial part, and you said, of course, you can apply for some kind of, organizations and get some funding. But I think it's also what I found myself is a bit of a stuck in that, I just graduated, so I kind of need stability. I'm probably going to reach out for a full-time job. But at the same time, I want to make impact. So, I'm going to do full-time job plus volunteering. But I think there are not a lot of people who say, I just graduated. Why not to co-found a non-profit organization? Because, of course, I can also live out of it. And it can be also fully financially secure path, which also going to bring me a lot of meaningfulness. So my actual question is how did you deal with that uncertainty, and how did you find the security of reaching out to this kind of career path within yourself?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm still working on that, actually. It's been an interesting journey. When I first started, I used my savings. So I volunteered full time using all my savings.
How many savings you had? Let's get to specifics here.
How much did I have? Maybe around 5,000 euros or something. Yeah. Maybe a little bit more. a little bit less, approximately there. Yeah. So I had money to like stay alive or like to do my stuff for like half a year in Norway. With my current like living situation and everything. I was currently living in a collective.
Yeah.
Do you say that? Yeah. So with like some of my other good friends, and then after about 6 months, a little bit before, I thought the money would like go for a little bit longer, but they didn't. I was like, okay, this is actually not that much money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I used all of that money up, but I also started to document my journey on social media around this time. So when I was running out of money, and I had that question which you mentioned, I was like, okay, now I see that like the next month I would basically not have any money. What should I do?
Yeah.
So I asked my followers, I was like, what should I do? Does anybody have a part-time job that I could maybe do or something?
Yeah.
And then some people said about like Patreon. Do you know Patreon?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So they told me about Patreon, and at first, I think it took a month, because at first I just said no. I was just like, out of like principle, like I feel it's pretty wrong that somebody like me, like living in Norway, should like have like Patreon so people can give me money to just do whatever I want to do, basically. And then after a month and a lot of conversations and like arguments back and forth, I landed on, okay, I will just open like a Patreon account.
Yeah.
People can support me if they want. But you don't get any extra if you become my patron as well. I will do whatever I want to do, and if you want to support that, you can.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that's it. So I did that, and then I got around like 500 euros a month, I think.
Lovely.
And I was like, damn, like this is actually a little bit. So I moved home to my mom, because then I didn't need to pay for rent, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's like 5,000 that covers my food, my phone bill. Like, yeah, I think I can do that.
Yeah.
So I lived off of those $500 a month approximately for like some months or years. Because like it was very like from $200 to like 700 or something,
course,
but like approximately
varies,
500. And like at that time I was basically like, I was just thinking about what I wanted to do, and like I would just deal with how much money I got. Like I knew that my friends were at this point saving much more money than I was. They
Social
were earning
comparison.
what?
Comparison with others.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
huge,
Yeah. And when I compared, like I was like, okay, this is probably like a bad strategy to like earn money, and like if when people are going to start buying houses and so on, I will still probably just be like, maybe living with mom or like
thanks a lot for sharing, because that's what I wanted to hear. That's a real story of how you start this kind of EI career, and I think that is beautiful. It is how that's how the day-to-day life looks like. Living in Norway out of 500 euros.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, so tough actually.
But
yeah.
Okay, like you also mentioned, like go ahead.
Like I can tell it kind of quick, I think, but just to get to where I am today, maybe, which is not that
of
different.
Course, it's interesting
actually. But so okay, so after some time, I was really lucky because the amount of followers grew on social media, and then suddenly brands and organizations started to contact me, being like, "Hey, do you wanna like collaborate with us? Like, we pay you this if you do this." And I was like, "Ooh!"
That's
like,
when you get the label of influencer,
Yes, exactly.
Officially.
So I was like, "Oh, this is kind of nice." But then some of the like organizations and brands contacted me were like totally not aligned with what I do. Like there were some fast fashion brands which were trying to contact me and say that I would get so much money if I posted about this like this clothing or like this watch or something. And I remember also replying to them kind of with my values, being like, if you're aligned with me, like I think we could do something together, but it doesn't seem like it, but can you reply to how we align? And then I remember one of the reply was so funny because he basically just wrote, like, no, we're not aligned, but you do get this money. And I was like, yeah, but like, that's not what I want. Like,
at least honest, you know?
At least honest.
Yeah.
I was like, kind of, thank you. Yeah. But but then in the end, I started to do more and more deals through influencer stuff. And then I earned more from my Instagram than from my Patreons.
Yeah.
And then it came to this dilemma where I actually earned enough from social media where I didn't need the Patreon to just like survive and like to live an okay life. Still living at home, by the way.
Yeah.
And then I told my Patreons, like the people who donated, that like, okay, I actually earn okay now, like, or like enough. And then I mean like maybe $1,000 a month or something, which is not much. That's like a super low wage, at least in Norway.
Yeah.
But that was enough for me to just do what I could do full time. And then I told them that you don't need to donate anymore. So like,
that's a very strong actually saying, because I think you can get really greedy in that sense. Oh, I can even make profit out of it, you know?
Yeah.
It's I think it requires a strong personality to do that.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not so sure how smart it was, but I really love
now regretting.
Yeah, kind of. But I again, like, I really love like my mindset around that. I was like, damn, this is healthy.
Yeah.
I think like I don't need it anymore. So like I should at least say it out loud.
Yeah.
So I said it out loud, and like 80% of my donations went away, I think. I still have like $100 now, like today, like every month, I think, from my patrons. And I am thinking of starting it up again, or like at least knowing that it exists.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm confident enough that I will use the money in a wise way,
Yeah.
and like to grow like the organizations and so on, and to grow the work. But okay, but not to get maybe so deep into that. But so then I did that, and then we get to the governmental, because we got a government funding for both of the organizations recently, which is like a 99% sure 5-year deal, I would say.
That's nice.
We
Lovely.
just gotta review it each year, but like we use like the same numbers, so like something crazy have to happen if we're not going to get the funding the next years, and we already received them for 2 years now. And then I can take a little bit of salary from the organizations. So it went from doing this like all volunteer, like having no money, then getting some donations, then getting some social media money, all unexpected. Like I didn't plan this. Like this just happened basically. And I was like so lucky. Then we got governmental funding, and we also got funding from some other like the Norwegian Environment Agency and other like agencies and so on. But then when we first got money and we could hire somebody, we actually like then we hired somebody else. Or like I hired like, for example, our local chapter leaders got like just like symbolic sum like each month of just like $100 like a month or something. But then we also had like the one project leader who got like a little bit more funding, around like $5,000 or something. And then when we got enough funding to hire one full-time, then I actually have to merge funding from World Saving Hustle, from Altruism for Youth, which is the second organization, and from my influencer company to hire one person full-time. But then I hired somebody else and not myself. But this year, like in 2022, it's actually the first year where I'm taking salary from the organizations, like on a continuous basis, at least.
Lovely. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for sharing. I was already telling off the camera that I really appreciate that, because I think very often we just hear, okay, my organization started then because we got funding from there and there, but like what happens before you actually get funding, that's where the reality, you know, is. So I really appreciate you sharing your story.
Oh, thank you. It's nice. But I will also say a good tip, especially for like our conversation today, is like if you're into effective altruism, or if you want to become more interested in EA, like in effective altruism, then there are a lot of funding opportunities right now. So if you're an EA entrepreneur, or like an entrepreneur who are interested in effective altruism, just repeating myself here, but then there's a lot of opportunities, and I think you can just Google like EA grants and so on. I can probably just put a like of everything we've been talking about, I will put some stuff in the description so people can check out. Yeah,
I think for people it's gonna be interesting as well. So like,
yeah.
I think you need courage to start and this kind of career path, and then I think money is gonna come, because once you also have a good intention in your heart and you have a good purpose, money just comes. All the resources come people, money, like whatever you need, security. I think it's just about the courage and just like basically devoting yourself to that vision and mission you have.
Yeah.
And not giving up. I think that's what you have to do, and the world is gonna do everything else for you to achieve your goals.
That's amazing.
Wrap up.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah. Maybe that's a good ending right there. Do you have any last thoughts?
And take care of yourself, folks.
Amazing.
Don't get burned out. And of course, I really appreciate you inviting me here. That was a really pleasant experience. Lovely to connect. Within these cameras, like that was interesting setting for sure. But yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, same. Like, thank you so much for saying yes to
my pleasure.
Take this one-to-one over podcast. Yeah, it's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Likewise, definitely. And getting pleasure to get to know you guys, volunteers in the organization. Yeah. I kind of got to know you as well in some way.
Oh, yeah. I hope you liked the episode. Thank you so much for either listening or hearing. And if you have any feedback, please let me know. And the resources we talked about are in the description. And I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.